All right, everybody. Got a little short banger for you today. Craig is in the mystery seat. You don't really know what I'm doing. I'm going to play something here and we're going to talk about it. And it's a podcast that I was listening to this morning and it's on Naval. And I know that just made you all tingly inside when I said the words Naval.
Yeah.
Right? But it was so applicable to dentistry that I'm going to play this and then we're going to iterate on the application to dentistry because I think there is one. And it's so taboo in dentistry, and you'll know what I'm talking about.
You're listening to the Naval podcast. This is his regular co-host, Nivi. There's only two things you need to know in life, how to build and how to sell. Today we're going to talk about the sales side. Naval is a particularly gifted seller, and some people have accused him of having his own reality distortion field.
Yeah, so I've never taken a class on sales. I've never tried to be good at sales. I don't even know what sales is. I don't sell. I just try to figure things out. And then if there's something I believe in, I try to convey that as accurately and honestly as possible to the other person. And there's no sales skills involved. I think the full extent of my sales training is I watched Glenn Ross. I think that was good. I recommend it. I read Robert Cialdini's Influence, his original book on persuasion. You can skip the second one. Like most sequels, it's just not needed. It has one good idea in there, which is anchoring, but that's it.
Hold on.
Robert Cialdini popularized Class R, which is consistency, liking, authority, scarcity, social proof, and reciprocity. Those are like the 6 ways in which you influence people. And then his subsequent book, he added a 7th, which was basically anchoring. But
Okay, so Craig, first off, I loved that he brought it Cialdini because, right, I always tell people, and you hear me say that all the time, like, if you want to read one book, read Influence, read Cialdini stuff. Okay, so the thing that's taboo in dentistry is the word selling, right? And Naval is being accused of having, what do they call it? A reality distortion field. I guess he's so good with that he's so good at quote unquote selling or convincing that he just creates this abstract reality. So when you hear that, right, and we talk about, because you go and lecture to other groups of dentists, right, and you talk about quote unquote selling, that was ingrained in us early on. Dentists don't sell, right? You do not market, you don't sell, especially in my come up of from dental school. Like, there was board slaps on the wrist. There's no selling, it's just educating. And I love how he transforms it, is that it's really not. You just authentically believe. And that maybe this is why you and I were both good at enrolling and quote unquote selling, is because we could see the vision of what was the end result. We could see the life benefit to that human. We could see them getting healthy. We could see them getting, more confident. We could see all these things. And therefore we believe so deeply in the product of what we provided. Just like Naval was saying, that it was authentically selling because of that confidence of, like, you are spending the best amount of dollars on something that is going to augment your life in a reverberatory way, if that's even a word. Like, it's going to reverberate in all aspects of your life. So hearing that, again, we're going to make a really short pod on this, but what was the things that were going on in your head as it pertains to our listeners?
Well, first of all, Naval is just one of the most brilliant minds. We're very fortunate to have this guy, and fortunate that he puts out content, because he's like a modern day Stoic. So he said something, I think maybe either in the clip you just played or the one I heard before, where it's like, I'm not good at selling. And can you paraphrase what it was? It's like, I'm not good at it. I just believe in something, that if something's good for people.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So here's the issue. Dentists have a desire to be liked, and we don't want to be disliked. So the first thing is that we have the unfortunate circumstance where we have to deliver bad news to patients. Patients don't know that they have dental disease, periodontal disease, and small cavities. You don't feel them. So you go in optimistic as a patient, and then the doctor comes in and kind of lays you flat, like saying you have all these problems that you don't feel or perceive. So that's just net negative. Number 2 is that the perception is people just don't like the fact that their teeth break down over time. So they just say things like, no offense, doc, but I hate dentists. I hate going here. So that's another thing. So the issue really is that when you present treatment to a patient that they don't want or don't understand, it is selling. That's what a sale is. You're sold something that you don't want or don't feel any affinity towards. So the reason why Cialdini is so important, I've never read the book, but he talks about influence.
Really?
No, I never read it.
Oh, wow. You would absolutely love it. Okay.
So when you find out what's most important to a patient and you present options that are surrounding the influence of that, what's most important, that is no longer a sale. So I can't tell you how many times I have new doctors coming in my practice and they say, hey, take a look at these x-rays and these photos. I need to do a treatment plan presentation. And I look at the screen on the open dental and there's a lot of red, veneers and crowns and rebuilding the bite. And I say, okay, great. I'm looking at the teeth. I'm like, what did the patient say is most important? And they tell me, I never asked.
Mm-hmm.
So if you pull up a treatment plan, although it may be necessary, if you don't know what influences them, it's going to be perceived as a sale. So same thing with your Invisalign. If you tell patients, hey, you should have Invisalign, but you didn't tell them, hey, you have crowded teeth or your bite is causing premature wear, or you're only 25 years old, but yet you have the wear of a 50-year-old, there's premature wear. They don't understand it. So the sale is you did not do the groundwork to find out what's most important to the patient. Therefore, the patients feel like you sold them. They'll write you a negative review, and the downward cycle of you commoditizing the patient starts to begin, or starts. Because like these patients hate what I say, and it's so frustrating. They only care about what insurance offers, and it's this bullshit thing.
You did a great exercise in last week's mastermind. The 3-hour call where you were saying how maybe it was that, I can't remember where, but you said, look, most dentists, when the patient says, I hate you, doc, they laugh and okay, all right, I'm gonna lean you back now. They just skip over it. And you're like, you double click on that and be like, hey, tell me what's involved with that. Because I know you don't know me per se, but like you had some great verbiage. It was like, you didn't give them a hall pass to just say, I hate dentists, right?
Oh yeah.
No offense, doc, but I hate you. You said, hey, there was obviously something that happened in the past or something that you don't feel value on, but like, honestly, let's have that conversation now, because everything going forward will be kind of predicated on that.
Yeah. I think what winds up making dentists so unhappy in life is that they never really got to build the relationship with their patient that they were meant to build. When you build a good relationship with somebody and you do what is best for them, dentistry becomes easy. Your practice will grow. I think, my practice was not built on systems. You know me, Pete. It was built on my ability to connect with people. And I always did the least amount of dentistry in order to get somebody happy and healthy. And I think that most dentists, when you listen to them, they start ranting about patients and ranting about insurance companies and ranting about the team members. They're literally just bitching about everything. These patients don't care and they leave you for nothing. You have to be, as a business owner, obsessed with adding value. And if you want to add value to people, you have to find out what people value. And if you just sit for a couple extra minutes with that new patient and get to the root cause of whatever it is, and in your example, if they say, hey, no offense, I hate dentists, that's a cry for help. There's only two forms of communication. I say this all the time: a loving expression or a cry for help. We all know of loving expression. I'm so happy to be here. My cousin Becky loves you, and I'm so happy to be here. But the cry for help is, no offense, I hate dentists. Okay, well, tell me more about that. Well, I was a kid, I grew up in Ukraine and they held me down. I'm like, oh, that's terrible. Did you know we offer sedation, things like nitrous oxide or even IV sedation? No, I had no idea. And now you start to build a relationship with somebody and build value. And when you find out what's most important to them and you address them, they'll never leave you, ever. They'll never leave you.
You know why? And I'm thinking like, yeah, I would never leave someone if they did that to me, because the chances of you finding another provider, right, like that you just experienced, is going to be few and far between, right?
Yes.
You created so much friction to leaving because like you get them, quote unquote.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I actually love that, the cry for help or the loving expression. I think that's good. I think that that's just the point I wanted to make as I was walking, I was walking this morning, listening to that pod, and I'm always looking in life in general. I'm just looking for the dental extrapolation or the dental analog to things, because I know we think our businesses are so unique. We're doctors and we're giving shots and we're doing things and we're dealing in the mouth, but it's really, when you distill it down, it's really about taking care of people, no different than feeding someone in a restaurant, no different than fixing their plumbing if you're a plumber, right? It's business is business.
Well, business is a spiritual game, and the more value you can bring and the more relationships you can build, the more successful your business will be. So you have an obligation to take the very best care of your patient. You have an obligation to take the very best care of your team, because they in turn care for your patient. So like I'm literally on the phone right now with a guy. He's texting me. He's like, your team is so special. You know what I mean? Like your team is incredible. What you've built is so special. I get so many of those now. I got none of those when I was working really hard.
Yeah.
No one. It was just always complaints. Where's the owner? And I had to go into these rooms and get bitched out. And now I get tons of credit that I don't actually deserve. Well, I mean, I guess I deserve it because I built it. But
you built it. Yeah.
But I think
it's
you
the
got to
rock uphill now rolling downhill.
You got to look at business as a spiritual endeavor. And I love when Tony Robbins talks about this, because he always says, life supports those who support life. Like there's some universal force there that if you look out for the needs of other people, you will be rewarded. The road to misery is an over-obsession with self. And I go on some of these Facebook groups where the dentists are just bitching about patients and bitching about the hygienists. I'm like, oh, geez, that's the death toll of a dying practice. That's the first symptom of a dying practice, is that psychology of that dentist who's saying hygienists all suck and patients just want to, bleed you dry, and the insurance companies are out to. How can you serve somebody when you're in that woe is me psychology? How can you give to other people? How could you provide somebody if you're in that psychological state?
You can't exist in those two states.
You can't. Yeah, you can't. So you got to fix that state for everybody listening. If you're feeling, just go out and serve more people, and, call your patients at the end of every appointment and care for people and check in on your team and tell your team things like, hey, I'm a great dentist. I got a lot of dental training, but I didn't get very much business training. I'm listening to this podcast called Bulletproof, and they said I've got to just own the areas I'm not great in, and then get some help. Like, turn your inputs into your outputs. Go to the summit, register, and get that level of business training that will take you to the next part of your career.
Yeah, and listen to the Naval and read the Cialdini, and at least Craig, I say this a lot to the masterminders, especially when we finish the long 3-hour kind of presentations for the core topics, is like my hope is that you hear and see things that you will never be able to unhear and unsee in your life. And I think this could be one of those times where it's like, change that narrative, right? Hey, I'm never going to let someone get away with saying, no offense, doc, I hate you anymore. Right.
And just to add on what that comment really is, by the way, and this is for everybody to take home, this is the actual verbiage. Own it, to say, I'm sorry you feel that way. But what it really comes down to is that you're upset because you have this one area of your body that, if you don't take meticulous care of, starts to break down at a very early age. Like if you don't wash or wash your eyes every day, they don't start bleeding and falling out when you're 16. Teeth are an extraordinarily maintenance intensive part of your body. We meet 14-year-olds that have rampant dental problems. You don't meet 14-year-olds routinely that have lung issues or eye or vision issues. So I think that's one part to it. The next part is I want everybody to start being a student of general business. If you have a successful business patient and you have a good relationship, offer to take that person to lunch. Because I think one of the big problems that we have as dentists is we think we can only learn from dentists. And that's probably why you're listening to this podcast. Because like, okay, these are dentists that do business. But Peter and I are actually learning from general business principles. Peter never shares a dental business excerpt or podcast or article with me. We're learning from other business people. And I want you to do the same. Be a student of every business that you learn, or patronize. Every single business you go to, I want you to be a student of that business. I do it with my son all the time, by the way. You know, like if we see something cool and I'm like, how do you think the owner's here? What kind of guy guy or girl do you think that is? And I'll ask to bring him over. I'll always kudos everybody. I called a mobile diesel repair guy because I'm checking out that flatbed diesel truck I'm buying. And he picks up the phone and he's like, listen, I'll do whatever it takes. I work 7 days a week. I'm like, it's no wonder you have 350 Google reviews and it's a 4.9. A mechanic is tough. Mechanics are tough because they get trashed for everything. And he's like, I'm trying. I'm like, no, buddy, you're not trying. You're doing. To have 450 4.9 reviews as a mobile diesel mechanic.
It's almost harder than a dentist.
It is. It is.
All right, good, buddy. All right, everybody. We'll see y'all next time. Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone, for watching today's episode of the Bulletproof Dental Practice Pod. We hope this conversation brought you a tremendous amount of perspective and reminded you of why you love dentistry. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button, drop us a comment, and make sure to subscribe so you never miss a future episode. Additionally, it would really help us if you could send this message to someone that you think would enjoy it. Until next time, keep pushing forward, keep leading boldly, and most importantly, stay bulletproof.